Get some new uniform designs based on Victoria's Secret.
Yeah. Contact Mark. Hi Mark.
Hi, how are you?
Very good, thanks. You are in Dubai, so what time are we on over there? Evening
I am
time?
4 hours ahead of you, so now just coming up to 6:20.
And you are a stone and tile engineer in Dubai.
Yes, that's what my new business card has printed.
Cool. So, what's a stone and tile engineer?
That's a really good question. I've been a project manager in stone and tile for at least the last 10 years. And now my new employer wanted to call me a stone and tile engineer, which for me means I haven't got to spend as much time in front of the customer.
Okay. What is it that you actually do for this company?
So they brought me in to grow a department which they already had.
Sorry, what's the company called?
Sorry, I work for a company now called Cherwell Interiors. It's a British-run company out here in Dubai, obviously employing people from all over the world, predominantly joinery. And they had a stone and tile division. However, most of their material, most of their jobs are being outsourced, and they wanted to keep more in-house, make more money, and also grow that side of the business. They approached me about 6 years ago. It wasn't the right time for me to go then. So an opportunity came up this side of Christmas, just gone, and it's a year ago now, isn't it? And we had a lot of conversation, and in April I jumped ship and came across.
Okay. Sorry, I did change the question, but what is it that they actually have you doing?
Sorry.
It was my fault.
Oh, no, it's okay. So what I do is I take the drawings, anything that has stone or tile. My job is to take those drawings, see what the material is, basically how do they want it to look at the end, and my job is to engineer it so the customer gets what they wanted.
So we'll get into the details of
Mm-hmm.
your job and what you actually do, because I've got a few questions about that. But if we start with the beginning, so how did you end up in Dubai? As in, what's your experience that built up to a place where you could apply for a job in Dubai?
Okay, so going back to, I think it was around about 2002, I was given an opportunity as a store manager with Tops Tiles on the south coast in Christchurch. I'd come from a retail background at that point, working for clothes shops, a curtain and fabric shop. I worked for Lidl supermarket when I was 18. So I was a bit of a retailer at that point. And a friend of mine who I'd met when I moved back to Reading after I'd left away, because I was born in Reading, and I moved away when I was 14 to Louth in Lincolnshire. And when I moved back, I got a job working in a hotel. There was a gentleman there, Graham, became very, very good friends. And he was also at the time working for Lidl supermarket. He eventually moved on and got this retailing job in Tops Tiles. And a
So
few years after that.
these Tops and Lidl jobs, are these store, front of store,
Yes.
in the stores, not the offices?
No, no, no. Actually, customer facing, retailing, selling to customers, trade, etc., etc. So Graham offered me a job, or said there was an opportunity on the South Coast with a Tops Tiles store. I went for an interview in Little Chef, somewhere just outside Southampton, and got a job working with a product I knew absolutely nothing about. But what I did know was how to retail. So that's where the journey started, really.
So from Tops, this is my favourite type of story, right? So,
Mhm.
and I'll try and get them. You haven't got the middle bits out of the way yet from you, but
Nope.
this is exactly what I want this podcast to do, to show to people that everybody's story will be similar to, not similar to yours, but it'll be varied, as in, this is how I ended up doing what I'm doing.
Sure.
We will get some people like, yeah, this is what my dad did and he taught me how to do it, and but even
Yeah.
those stories will have something in there that everybody will be able to look at and think, oh shit, I could do that. And it's
Yeah.
like, so you've got this guy who's in Dubai now with a really good job, 10 years in Dubai, I think he said,
That's right.
but with a story that anybody, literally anybody, could relate to.
Mhm.
So after Tops,
So
during your
what?
time at Tops, just while we're on Tops, because
Mhm.
interesting company, obviously, what was the training like? Because you went in with no product knowledge.
The training, I have to be fair, for me was actually quite good. There was a training centre in Farnborough. So everything that we needed to know, we went to Farnborough. Was there enough in-house training? Probably not. But the guys that actually worked in the store, they could take care of the product. My job was to take care of the retail and fix all the problems in a greater capacity. So when I actually joined there, I was in a shed. It was taking £7,000 to £8,000 a week, and after about a year, I managed to get that to around about £25,000 a week, and that was retailing, changing the staff, changing the dynamics of the store, systems in place. And with that, I got to learn about the product.
Yeah, you would just naturally pick it up over time anyway. But I was just interested in what kind of training Tops give to their
I
staff.
think outside of the store, if you go to these training days up in Farnborough, they try to put in a kind of, at the time, a weekly Saturday morning 10 minutes learning out about a particular product, and you just got little tiny snippets.
Yeah.
And that was really it. I didn't know anything at all about tiling apart from watching my dad when I was a kid, and fascinated by the smell that a bucket of adhesive gave off.
Sniffing glue.
And that's, yeah, basically, that's what it was. So for this particular Tops, they then asked me to go to a different store. They recognised that things had moved in the right direction. So I went to another store and kind of pushed that and really took that one forward as well. And then they tried to put me into a third store, which I couldn't change. It just didn't work. It was a TCH, tile clearing house, and different customer, different mindset. I just couldn't shift it. I fell out with management from Tops, and I was quite offended by the way they treated me. So I thought it would be a nice idea to rent the warehouse right next door to the store, and decided to import my own stone and travertine.
So we have to be careful now. There's not many companies that scare me, but Tops are one of them. Because
This was a long time ago.
Yeah.
We're 20 years ago.
yeah, okay.
So I did that, and I think some of the senior management of Tops took it personally that I tried that, but it worked.
Other people have done it, and plenty of people have done it. I can give you a few examples of people that have opened things near to a Tops, and it worked.
Yep. You know, I had great passing traffic straight away. I didn't have to go out. The traders knew me. So when I brought in a particular adhesive supplier, they were coming in and buying adhesive from me. I crashed their travertine prices just to get people in the store. And it wasn't very long. I was taking about £6,000 to £7,000 a week, which I was really happy out of nothing.
Yeah.
You know, so after we did that, that was for about 9 months. And then it all came crashing down. I had 2 business partners with me. And whilst I was doing a loft conversion in my own house, I thought it would be a good idea to fall through the loft hatch.
Oh.
And I fractured my coccyx. So I was immobile for a while. One of my partners was in Turkey with his then girlfriend. And the third business partner, whilst we were absent, decided to cash in on absolutely everything. Emptied the bank account, took all the VAT and national insurance and tax and whatever there was, they cleared it.
Shit.
Indeed.
So, what came of that? Business partners, man.
Not a lot.
I hear
The
these
police
stories.
weren't really interested, to be honest. They kind of saw it as sorry about that. The usual thing, made some noise, couldn't find the guy. I knew his son was in America, so I have a feeling that that's where he'd gone. But just disappeared into thin air. Someone that we really trusted.
Yeah. So what happened with the business?
Well, we basically had to walk away from it.
Yeah.
But at the same time that was happening, a stone company based on the south coast kind of came knocking on my door and said, come to us. So I ended up being inside a factory and learning all the intricacies that come with working with natural stone and quartz products. So that was the full fabrication, polishing, cutting, milling, everything.
It's interesting,
So that was
isn't
my
it, where
next
things
stage, really.
Yeah. Like I say, people's stories, they're amazing. So you've gone from Lidl to a factory actually making and cutting natural stone. So
Exactly.
It's amazing. So how long you were at that place?
So I was there until 2000 and I want to say around about 2009. No, yes, because we had the crash in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back from Christmas and was told, there's about 12 of you, we're going to have to say goodbye. The order book that was full for the next 6 months turned into about 3 jobs.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have got a story from 2008, 2009 where they either left or they were pushed, one or the other.
Yeah.
Which one was you? I left. I would have been pushed.
No, I was given my cards.
Yeah.
Sorry, we can't afford to keep you here.
Yeah.
Ta-ra.
Yeah. And then what?
So from there, I was kind of a bit stuck. I didn't know what to do, to be honest with you. At this point, I had 4 children, mortgage, the bills, the this, the that, the other, and nothing, no income.
Yeah.
And it was a very, very tough time. But a lot of friends and I would say a lot of friends and foes came out of the woodwork and decided that they wanted worktops, they wanted tiling done, they wanted all this work done. And that kept me going for about 3-4 months. And in that time, still thinking about what was I going to do next.
So what, you were actually, so physically doing the tiling and worktops?
Yes.
So your story hasn't really explained where you picked those skills up.
The working in the factories and working with the worktops and installing worktops and all the fabrication and everything, that gave me enough experience of how to work with that. The tiling, I just picked it up.
Yeah.
Common sense.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't go out there with the whole attitude of I can do everything. I knew what my limitations were.
Yeah.
So if an opportunity came up, I took it. I did it on a lump sum jobs. I didn't work on day rates or anything. If it took me a long time, it took me a long time.
Yeah.
I was just grateful for the income.
Quite relevant, actually. There was a very popular post yesterday or the day before, but it's been spanning a while. Got loads of comments. And I think the guy that wrote it, he meant well, but it came across to me as, why do new people think that they can do stuff? And I'm like, or think that they know things. I'm like, well, and it was basically of newly qualified people or inexperienced tilers, of which you will have been one of them at that period when you started doing worktops and whatever, even though you had a lot of knowledge actually doing it. So like you've just said, you were quoting to your capabilities.
Yes.
You were probably charged, and this was my argument on this post, you were probably charged exactly the same as a really experienced guy would charge, because you're going to do the same job, but you would probably take 2 or 3 times longer.
Exactly that.
So therefore, the argument, why do they think they can get paid the same? They're not getting paid the same. They don't fit as much work in. They won't earn as much as the experienced guy in a year. And obviously there's lots of other things that experience can save you money. You might be better with materials. This might not apply to you at the time, actually, because you will have had contacts for materials and things.
Mm-hmm.
But a newly qualified tiler won't have as many contacts or as much know-how. So he might actually be paying more for materials, taking longer to do it. He's not earning as much money.
Correct.
So it's like,
I did really well with the worktop side of thing. My old employer, he understood, you know, I had a family to support, and he was actually supportive in that effect. So I was able to use his factory. I was able to use his machinery, and he didn't charge me for it.
Nice.
He even delivered the worktops for me.
Right, so you dropped on a little bit then. But that's experience. It's experience, isn't it? You get contacts and you use what you can.
Yeah.
So that kept you going through 2009, and we're getting closer and closer to Dubai now.
We are. And this is where it changes a little bit. I went back to university and trained to be a social worker.
Oh. It's all making sense.
I still don't know where that came from. I did a couple of skills tests, you know, they get you to fill out 1,000 questions and tick boxes. And it spat 2 things out. One was teaching, and the other one was social work. So I did a load of voluntary work in my children's first school and decided that I didn't like kids very much. Except my own, of course. And so the other one was social work. So I went through the whole process of interviews. First I had to go and do an access course. So I went to college for a year doing health and social care. And to fund all this, I was a carer. So I did the classic wiping bums.
Yeah.
And all that kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, it gave me an income.
Yeah.
So I went through that process, did 3 years at uni, right at the back end at qualifying.
Sorry, just to interrupt. What age were you when you? So was this the first time you went to university?
Yes,
And what age did
yes.
you start at?
So that would have been 29, 30. Yeah, 29,
Yeah,
30.
I think that's good. My I've got a long and boring story, but part of it is I went back to university when I was 24. I never actually went to university full time before that, but I went when I was 24 and I was classed as a mature student.
Yes,
And I actually think it's a really good time to go to university when you're older because
I have to agree.
you've probably got a much better idea of what you want to do.
Hmm.
You're probably going to spend put a lot more effort into actually learning. There's a whole experience of university that's good for younger people, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Going to a different city and meeting people and all the rest of it. But yeah, going when you're a little bit older, I think, is a good idea. So like finish college or whatever you're doing, or school even. Do anything for a while. Try and
yep.
start your own business. Do anything, whatever. Get some experience in anything, and then a few years after that, start university.
It certainly worked for me. I mean, I didn't enjoy school. I went to school. I tried sixth form. I lasted 6 months before they asked me to leave for non-attendance. I then worked in the pub, started college the following year. I think that's this time it lasted 3 months because I spent most of the time sleeping on my desk. And I was there really to kind of satisfy my parents because that's what they said I should be doing. That didn't last long at all.
Yeah, that's another reason why, at a young age, 16 to 18, it's hard unless your parents are really, really understanding and really, really supportive. Like you were trying to satisfy them to do whatever they wanted you to do at college or whatever. I was the opposite. I was not allowed to go to university. I had to go and get a paying job, which is like, it's nothing like, not complaining about it. It's just at that young age when you're like, unless you're really mature for your age and your parents are really supportive, I think it's really difficult to decide what you want to do at that age.
Yeah, I had no ideas what I wanted to do. I was too busy going out, going to the pub, doing what you do as a older teenager with your mates and just
Yeah,
causing havoc.
yep. Like most
You know?
people, I think.
Yeah. So I went to uni, and then right at the end of it, my marriage broke down and fell apart, which was tough. Really, really, really difficult. To the point where I was all over the place. Really bad. My mental health took a kicking. I was not me. You know, it was a tough 6 to 9 months, and I had to get away. I had to get out. And a friend of mine, who was one of the business partners from the warehouse next to Tops, just out of the blue, and at this time he wasn't even aware that there was issues, and called me and said, "How do you fancy coming out to Dubai? I've won a massive, massive contract, and now I don't know what to do." And at this point, I didn't know how big it meant. So he offered me, at that point, was a ridiculous package to come out. And within a week, I was in Dubai on the 5th of May, 2013.
Yeah. So you don't have to tell me about this, but how long were you married for?
I was married for 14 years.
So you married quite young. But so were you a
Yeah,
teenager?
when I was 21.
Yeah, it was very young.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not something I can really comment on. But 4 kids, 14 years, I can imagine not not being an easy thing to deal with.
It was awful. It was I always call it a sacrifice on my part. I didn't want my kids to see the pain, the stress, and everything that was going on with me personally. And the only way I could protect them from seeing that and taking the power out of the situation was to get away. And I think the only person that really truly understood that was my dad. Even now, he still, I think, is the only person that really understood why I would run 3,500 miles and get away.
Yeah.
But I needed to.
Yeah. It's kids in it. I don't know what I'd do, but I know people who aren't together anymore, and it's the things that they do. It's just not fair on the kids, and it's like I can't comment on your scenario. What you did was right for you. It's like whatever, but yeah, it's tough for the kids. I mean, the adults are adults. They might get on still, they might not, but the kids shouldn't really be involved in it or affected by it at all. So
you're right, they shouldn't, and they get used for pawns.
Yeah.
You know, emotional blackmail and etc. etc. It's very, very difficult. But I made my choice, and I was like, no, I'm going to take myself away from it, and I'm going to go and I only came out here for 3 months. I thought 3 months away from everything will be nice. So off to Dubai I went. And
so just before you, because I've applied for jobs in the UAE before, can you just explain how all that goes? So it's a bit different for you because you didn't apply for it, but there's like, how does it work? Because it's not just come to Dubai. There's a lot involved in getting ready to come to Dubai and the package that they offer you and all. And then obviously it's totally different for someone who's never been there before. Can you just explain that to people?
So coming to Dubai, you know, forget everything that you've read in the Daily Mail or you've watched on BBC or whatever. Unless you've been here, it's nothing like what you think it's going to be. To come out here to work, the process of securing your employment, visas, balancing how your contracts work. You've got your basic salary, and you've got your housing. If you might have medical thrown in there as well, you might get schooling for the first few children or a percentage that they'll cover your bills. And you can build up these big packages that are worth a lot of money as a Western expat. The problem is a lot of people watch these shows that you've got on TV, like Bling in Dubai and this in Dubai and Mums in Dubai, Dogs and Cats in Dubai. And it's really not a reflection of normal life. You know, they've taken the 1% of the 1% who they know are going to get people to watch this rubbish on TV.
Yeah. Dubai probably happy with that as well because it makes it look...
Absolutely. It makes...
premium.
It sets that glam.
Yeah.
That is there for a few people, but what happens is it encourages people to come here and try and realize a dream that's probably not there.
Yeah. But versus a UK, or anywhere in the world actually, package as pay, it is more.
It is.
If you're just
the
judging
biggest
pay
catch,
versus pay.
Yeah, the biggest catch is we don't pay tax.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're earning, I don't know, let's say £5,000, £6,000, £7,000 a month, that's yours. That's not going to any taxman. And only up until 2 years ago, you didn't pay VAT on goods either.
Huh? So, do generally the companies cover housing as well? I think you mentioned schools and stuff.
Yeah, it depends on your contract. So mine, for example, my contract is I've got a lump sum contract. So I've got a salary, and from that I pay everything. Whereas my brother-in-law, who lives in Abu Dhabi, because I'm married again now, he works for the military. So he gets his salary and then gets quite a significant housing allowance as well. And then on top of that, he also gets support for his children to go through schools.
And all the
So
schools over there are paid for.
there are government schools. You probably wouldn't find any Western expats attending them. So it's the private school system here. And they're not cheap.
Yeah. Are they good?
Yeah. If you look at Dubai College or Dubai English speaking college, if you look at as a world ranking, they're high up. The education's superb. A lot of expat teachers come out here. They know that there's more money to be earned. They seem to have a lot of holidays, but I think that's the same as the UK.
Yeah. My missus is a teacher, so there's always a perception that teachers get a lot of holidays, and they do on paper, of course they do, because they get that big summer break and every half term and what have you. But I always say to people, if you think they get too many holidays, go and be a fucking teacher.
Yeah.
Great. If you really want those holidays, because not everybody can do it. It's not easy.
And as well as the normal holiday year, the calendar holiday year, you've also got other kind of holidays going on as well. So you've got Eid.
Ah, yeah.
You know, being an Islamic country, when you go through Ramadan, your hours are all cut short. And then there's holiday for this, holiday for that, holiday for the other. And it's...
you sound like a parent with kids.
That's the wrong thing. But it seems sometimes I'm the only person that's working.
Yeah. You sound like a parent with kids, and your missus isn't a teacher.
No.
Yeah, so you get a lot of that. Of course, they do have a lot of half term, and then you've got all the extra whatever, your regional holidays and religious holidays and what have you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the same throughout the world, I would imagine. And then every other week you have to dress up as something.
Yeah, they always seem to be off. I just have to accept that.
Go and be a teacher, mate.
Tried that. Didn't like kids.
It's not easy to be a teacher. I always say, I've probably said it before, and here, you can't be a teacher unless you love teaching. It's not possible. You can pretend, but you'll just be a miserable teacher.
Yeah.
And you won't be very good at it. And I think there's loads of them as well, to be honest. It's all right money, and it's all right holidays, and probably an all right pension and all the rest of it, so they just keep on doing it even though they're not very good at it.
Well, actually, talking about pensions, that's one thing that's different out here. There's not, unless you pay into some kind of private pension, which is probably back home. Out here, they do a gratuity system. So when you actually end your employment, there is, depending on how many years you've worked for that company, and this is a legal thing, it's a law, they have to pay you X amount of days, depending on how long you've been with the business, as a gratuity right at the end. So if you have a very high paying job and you've been in it for, let's say, 15 years, you can sometimes walk away with 150, 200, 250,000 dirhams. It's about £50,000.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's maybe not get you very far. It's a nice lump sum.
Do you have to complete a certain number of years that's in your contract, or is that just whenever you leave?
That's when you leave a job.
For any reason?
So it's on a sliding scale.
Uh-huh. What if you left to come back to the UK and you've got a load of money in the bank that's never been taxed. How'd you get back into the UK with that money?
Never tried it.
You'll have to come back on and let me know.
I don't know.
Wonder what the rules around that are.
I honestly don't know.
Neither do I. I'm pretty
We'll have
convinced.
to cross that bridge one
Pretty
day.
convinced it won't be easy though.
No, I'm sure I can hide it somewhere.
Don't say that on a podcast.
It's okay. There's no Rebo at the moment.
I'd be interested in that. Okay, so those are all the hoops you have to jump through for Dubai and all the things within a package that might be available to you. So you actually got there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when I arrived, my friend said to me, I'm going to give you a week, 10 days to get settled, go and do some tourism stuff, go and have a look around. Which I thought, okay, that's fine.
Quite generous.
I can live with that.
A week
I thought
to 10
so.
days?
Yeah, that didn't happen though.
Oh.
Day one. I got took to a site and at this point, I still didn't know what it was I was actually going to be doing.
Oh. Did you know
So
what? Did you know what your mate actually did? Did you know what he was doing over there?
Yeah. No, I knew he worked for a marble company.
Yeah.
Or he owns the marble company.
Oh.
And it turned out it was a managing company, but all the actual physical work was outsourced to third party. So I went to site to be presented with a project where I had 2 years to deliver 45,000 square meters of stone floor and 14,000 square meters of mechanically fixed stone facade. Thank you.
Great.
My first question was, who have I got? Here's Satish. He's a draftsman. Off you go.
No contacts.
Wow. Nothing.
No staff.
Nothing.
Sounds good to me. Nice challenge.
It left me scratching my head for a good 48 hours of how do I get out of this?
Who was the customer for that type of...
So the customer at the time was Miras, who are a part government-owned developer worth billions of dirhams. This particular project, I think, was around about $500 million.
Wow.
It was a big project. At the time, it was the most prestigious project in Dubai. And if anyone who's listening knows Dubai, it was the beach at JBR development. It was seriously big.
Okay.
And I had to start from scratch.
So we're back to the first question again now. What's a tile engineer? So what do you do?
What's a tile engineer?
So now you can tell us what you do. What did you do for this job?
This first job, I would say most of my work on that job was planning. I would say it was planning.
Were the materials already chosen, or did they basically say, this is the job, we want stone and marble, there and there, and you have to go and find them suitable materials and draw it and all the rest of it?
At the point where I landed, all of the material was approved. It was then at that point that we had to then go to China and source the material. Now, out of that 45,000 meters of floor, 21,500 meters of it was a bespoke cobbled mosaic of 50 by 50 by 30 mil mosaic. I've been properly stitched up.
So had it already been drawn up at this point, or like an artist impression? Or are we talking?
We'd had renders of what they wanted it to look.
Yeah.
They wanted this kind of waveform mosaic where you had 3 colours, which was dark, medium grey, light grey. And it was pixelation. And when you look at it from above, it's like a wave going through the whole of the site, which is about 1 kilometre long. And we couldn't find anybody with hardware and software that could cope with the size of the drawings. Every computer would just crash. The actual the hardscape consultant kind of they did. They washed their hands of it. They threw it back at us and said, "You need to sort this out. Submit your drawings based on these renders. Thank you."
Wow.
So we did what anyone else would do in that situation. We sent it to China and let them do it for us.
So you're outsourcing CAD work.
Yeah.
So, and is that the first step? You've sourced some design company.
Yeah.
In China. I would have guessed India, to be honest, for that, but China for you.
No, China, because I think we were getting our material from there. They were happy to take the extra work. The main contractor on this particular job sent out a representative as well to go and meet with them, and basically said, we need to get 1.5 years worth of work cut and delivered within 6 months. And if you can do that, is $1 million bonus for you.
And your mate said yes, obviously. He's that type of...
Of course.
Is your mate a sales guy? Is your mate a salesman? Or...
Absolutely, through and through.
Yeah.
Through
he
and
said,
through.
yes, we can definitely do that.
Yeah. So, cut a long story short, we delivered it. And within that 1.5 years, I learned the hard way how to work in the Middle East. How to work with multiple nationalities. They don't speak English. I don't speak wherever they're from.
Where are they from?
A lot of the workforce here, India,
Yeah.
Pakistan, Bangladesh, Philippines, North Africa, East Africa. Well, actually both. A lot of African continent. And they're your workers. They're the guys on the ground doing it.
What's their skill level like? Because this doesn't sound like an easy project.
With regards to the masonry or the tiling, very much Indian based. North India, Rajasthan, very, very well known for their skill set. It's what they do back home, but it's how they do it here. Oh, sorry, in Dubai. If you were new to Dubai and you came in and watched them work, you'd be like, what are you doing? But it works.
What's different about it?
The end user. So in the UK, you're a tradesman. You have your own tools. You've spent and invested thousands of pounds in tools. You look after your tools. You replace them when you know you need to. A mason in Dubai from India will turn up with a stick, a bucket, a paint scraper. He might bring a bucket trowel if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help that the person that's employing them, so if you get labour on supply, they will turn up with nothing and just expect you to give them something to enable them to start tiling.
So these are skilled guys,
Yes.
probably highly skilled, but without the equipment and tools that we're used to seeing over here.
Yeah.
Are they in Dubai? Are they allowed to go to Dubai just freely, or will they have the same issues as you? Or
They can come in on visit visas.
yeah,
So now we can bring people in on 3 months, sort of visit visa. And a lot of companies do this to kind of give them the opportunity to show that they can do a job.
yeah.
And if it doesn't work out, you haven't had to invest in their visas so they can go home.
Okay, and then
Because visas aren't
company
cheap.
organises and pays for the visa.
Yes.
If they're happy with them.
Exactly.
So these guys are very likely highly skilled, and then they're actually going through some kind of not initiation. What's the word? Trial period. I can't think of the correct word. So they're highly skilled. They're passing this trial period, coming back. What's it like? Like, where are they from? That, like, their background. It's clearly they're not going to get the same kind of work where they're from. And then
what you've got is a lot of eager young men.
Yeah.
That their families have probably clubbed together and paid for them to go to Dubai.
Yeah.
They then probably spend the next 6, 7, 8 years paying back that loan, and all they're doing is supporting their families. Now, this is a really interesting thing because you've seen what's going on with Qatar at the moment with the World Cup.
Yeah.
And everyone wanting to boycott it, as they call it, modern slavery and conditions and the people that died. And there's a lot of negativity around that. Now, let's take the UAE and Dubai. I can't talk about Qatar, but I can talk about here. It's changed a lot. So let's say Subhash has come from Rajasthan, will be employed. He will be a skilled mason. He will earn £400 a month for a 6-day week. He'll be leaving camp at 6:30 and he may work till 5. And then he'll go home or back to his camp where he'll share a room with maybe 4 people. They'll cook their food. They'll eat, go to sleep, and do exactly the same thing the next day. Now, there's a lot of criticism of that situation, and you can look at it from both sides. My choice is not to judge it. The guys that work with me are very happy and want to work with us. They're following that situation, and that money that they're earned is theirs. They don't have to pay rent. They don't have to pay transport. They don't have to pay tax. They don't have to pay bills, gas, electric, water, food. Everything is paid for them, and that's what's going in their pocket. And I sometimes think, after I've paid out my expenses every month, quite often they've got more money than I have.
No chance.
Because it's relative.
No chance.
It's relative. It's absolutely relative.
Yeah, it's not. I can't really comment on it. I doubt that they've got as much money as you, though, mate.
Well,
it is relative because it's like where they're from. What's it worth to them? What can they do? Where they've come from? I suppose I would have to speak to one of them. That would be interesting. Maybe you could put me in touch with somebody.
you need to speak a bit Hindi.
That's okay.
Is that okay for you?
Yeah, I'll pick it up. It's fine.
Yeah.
That would be really interesting, though, to be fair. Would they even be comfortable doing that? Would they be allowed?
Of course. The only problem is you'd need to see. in India, you've also got a caste system.
Yeah.
And whereas these guys who are the lower earners, but I would be honest, they do the hardest work. But that is their job, that's their skill set. Their fathers did it, their grandfathers did it. They, as they call it, they work with hand.
Yeah.
Whereas you get guys from, say, Kerala, they're your office workers. They're the guys that are upper level,
Yeah.
earn a bit more money, but you'd be able to have a good conversation with them.
Yeah. It interests me, the caste system. I'm probably the wrong person to talk about it because I know nothing about it. I'm not from that area at all. The little bit that I do know about it, if I was honest, I would have to say I don't like it. But then, I'm not from there. I would have to speak to somebody who's from there to explain, look, this is what it is and this is the opinions on it, blah, blah, blah. I've got very little knowledge about it, so I've only got a rough idea about what it is.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
it's very it's the situation they're born into.
Yeah. I don't know how
They don't
accepted
have
it
that
even
choice,
is. I
really.
just don't know. I can read little bits and see little bits on films or books or on the internet or whatever, but I've never actually spoken to anybody and said, this is your experience, can you tell me about it? That would be really interesting, actually.
Yeah, there's I'll give an example. I was on a job once where we were on a deadline. The engineers on the deadline were from Kerala. I'm there as their project manager. And we also had all the masons and helpers and everybody mucking in. The only people that wouldn't get involved were the engineers. And when I asked them, it wasn't politely, to get involved, they point blank refused. And they said, "We cannot, sir. It will bring shame on my family."
Mm.
Whereas if someone did that to you in the UK, well, there's the door. Off you go.
Yeah. Different cultures.
It is. But then you have the argument of, do I need to respect that culture because we're not in their country?
Yeah.
We're in Dubai.
Oh.
And they're bringing those values to Dubai.
Yeah. Tricky one.
Tough one.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know is the answer.
So
you're
following on from...
you're managing the team
Sorry.
as well, and that's what you're having to deal with, people from all different cultures.
Yeah, on that particular project, at one point I had 450 guys working for me. And I had to really learn how to work with them.
Yeah.
I had to, it's not a case of getting them to engage with me. It was more, how can I engage with them and get the best out of them? But a lot of that project was definitely planning.
Yeah.
And also, there was a lot of coaching involved. A lot of things that I'd picked up in the UK, especially from working in the factories with the stone, was showing them a different way of doing something, or showing them a tool that made their lives easier.
Yeah.
Now, at first, they're very submissive. But once they see the benefit of what you're showing them and how much easier it can make their life, they did take it on.
Equipment and tools in Dubai, where do you get them from?
So we don't have sheds. You have hundreds of independent retailers, kind of like how maybe an old English high street used to look, where you've got your butcher, your baker, your hardware store, etc., etc., etc. And we're still very much retailing like that. I can go into a store that will be heavily laden with, say, Makita.
Yeah.
And then next door, there'll be a store heavily laden with Milwaukee.
Right.
And they're all in a row. So you have these streets where you might have 12, 13, 14 shops. and they all sell Jotun paint. I don't know how that works, but all the tools are there, all the hardware, and then you've only got to travel another 2-3 kilometers up the road, and you've got it again, and it's repeat.
Why is that?
It's just the way that they retail here. Some things here are still very, very behind what we're used to as a Western life. Direct debits have only just started to creep in.
Oh.
We still write checks here. Still write checks for our rent.
Wow.
And if you're paying your rent monthly, in advance, you've got to write out 12 checks.
So this, you've been there 10 years.
Yep.
Customers in general for your... We'll talk about the company that you work for now.
Yeah.
I asked you this yesterday. I did exactly what you said at the beginning. I just assumed everyone was rich in Dubai. I was like, yeah, people who live in Dubai are wealthy. So are all your customers wealthy?
I would say the company I work for now, which is a premium branded company, attracts people who do genuinely have money.
Yeah.
You know, I can go to a supplier with a client we go walk around to see they want X amount of meters of a particular type of stone. And by the time they've totted it up, it's come up to 600,000 dirhams, which is £120,000. And they're like, yeah, that'll do. Just like that.
Yeah, I've experienced it before. So I used to work for Bentley. So Bentley is the 2008 company I was mentioned earlier that I left before they could get rid of me. I was a contractor at the time, so it was obvious what was going to happen. They're actually really good to... During that time, Volkswagen and Bentley were really good to staff. They basically said quite early on, we're not getting rid of anybody at all. Nobody will lose their job. And they said that very early on, but I knew as a contractor I wouldn't be one of those, so I did one. But yeah, the Dubai, this is where I think I get the... Obviously working for Bentley, I'm not going to see any people who haven't got money buying things. But the Dubai customers, so Bentley make a lot of money from like options. So there'll be £1,000 sunglasses case or £1,000 umbrella, whatever holder, ski holders, ski hat, like whatever. And the Dubai customers would literally say, yeah, everything. And they'd be like, really? Like, yeah, just every option possible. So there's Bentleys in Dubai with ski hatches, heated front windscreens. It's like they're never going to use them just because they ticked every box on the options. So yeah, I know that type of customer.
No, we do have them. You also have the customers, not so much with my new company, my old company, where I'll be honest, I was there for 7 years, 7 years. Really, really taught me a lot about stone, what you can do with it, how to use it, the parameters of round stone, and we got to experiment a lot. You know, I was putting up 2.5 meter by 1,500 meter panels, mechanically fixed to facades, going up 7-8 meters before you win no calculations kick in.
How thick would they be?
20 mil.
Wow.
20 and 30.
Jesus.
A lot of the outside facade was 30 mil. Now, if you think that a 20 mil piece of stone is generally 50 kilos a square meter.
Yeah.
And we're throwing them up.
Yeah. What kind of machinery does that?
Hands.
Crane?
Hands.
Really?
Yep.
Just a lot of people lifting together.
A lot of people. This is the flip side of the costs. It's a cheap labour market.
Wow. That's a big piece of stone. Do you ever see one fall?
Touch wood. Not personally. I've seen the aftermath of a fall. So I've seen some facades in Abu Dhabi where they had a particularly windy night, and it was known through the circles that some of the stone actually came down.
Oh dear.
In fact, actually, I went to a particular government building in Abu Dhabi, and it had 600 by 600 20 mils sandstone mechanically fixed all around the outside, 5,000 square meters. And I had to go and do a report on why it failed. So when I got there and found that all they'd done was they'd hammered rebar into the wall, drilled a little hole in the back of the stone, fixed some glue in it, and just went. You couldn't do that now with the building codes here.
Yeah.
Actually, you could. A lot of people are still out there doing that.
In Dubai?
Yeah.
On these big
if you
projects?
Go to some of... No. If you go to some of the private villas...
Right.
There are companies that are still fixing in methods that you just know you shouldn't be doing it. I mean, we're quite good. We're quite lucky as a company. You know, if you tie in with companies like Fisher, for example, they do a lot of mechanical fixing systems. And you can call them in and show them the drawing and say, this is what we got to do. You tell us and give us the calculations of what it is we need to do to get that fixed on the wall. And they do. And they give you everything.
Yeah,
and as long as you follow it.
Fisher Fixings, I know them. They're all, and they span industries. They do. They're not just in tiles. They're all over.
Yeah.
So do you particularly specialise in anything?
I would say right now, mechanical fixing. So if in the UK market, where you might be banging up some 10 mil thick 600 by 1200s Carrara or Travertine or something, mechanical fixing is putting in a Raimondi ray fix just to give it that little bit of a mechanical lock into the substrate. Whereas we are dealing with big panels, we might have 50 to 100 mil cavity. So you've got to look at your brackets, the glue type, the type of fixing. You've got to consider your thermal expansion through the steel or the aluminium or whatever it might be. I think we've been doing that now for the last 6-7 years solid. That there's probably not a scenario that I wouldn't be able to give you a solution for.
What's the company like now? But if it was just you, your brother, and a draftsman, you, your mate, and a draftsman when you started, what's it like now?
So it's 450.
Wow.
On the books. He's
done all right for himself then.
Yeah, the chairman of the company is British. Very, very well-to-do businessman. Still has several businesses in the UK, which do very well. And they've been operating, I think, for about 14 years, 10 to 14 years. I'm not sure how long it is. But it's grown from when I knew them, which was a very small family company in a little shed,
yeah,
to a humongous facility.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Lots of stories like
that. But the downside of Dubai is how it can chew you up and also cause you problems. So my previous two employers, where to say that I'm no different than the workers that come over from, say, India or Pakistan or wherever, is making sure that you get paid on time, and the salary that you're contracted to collect. Now, this is a big issue with construction. I'm not going to say in the Middle East because I can't speak of the other countries, but certainly in the UAE, that it still goes on, where you hear workers, and some of these workers might only be earning £200 a month, but they can go 4, 5, 6, 7 months without receiving salary.
So why is that? And I suppose they've got very little support to challenge it.
And I think that's exactly what it is. You can go to the ministries here, you can make complaints. People are scared to do that because they don't know what's going to happen to them. You have to also remember there's no benefit culture here. There's no benefits. If you don't earn money, you go home. You can't live. There are thousands, tens of thousands of cases, not especially, that's wrong, but with Western expats that will come out. It's very easy to take credit here. The banks falling over themselves to offer you money. And you could take out something like 50% of your salary. So if you're earning, I don't know, let's say you're earning £100,000 a year, they'll give you 50,000 on a credit card. And then another bank will offer you the same. And another bank will offer you the same. And then they'll offer you a loan and an auto loan and a rent loan. Before you know it, it's completely engulfed you. And then if you lose your job, you've got to get out.
What could possibly go wrong with banks doing things like that? I don't know. It reminds me of something.
But it happens.
Yeah. Wow.
And the scary thing is that people, they leave and go back home and leave all the debt here.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Now, at the moment, there's no reciprocal agreement between the UK and the UAE. So a UK court can't enforce a judgment in the UAE. And then the UAE can't enforce a judgment through a UK court. But I think that's soon to change. Certainly on a commercial level.
Interesting.
Now, I'm not suggesting that's what people come and do.
So you covered the package that you get when you actually go over there, and you also mentioned that you're married again. Have you got kids over there with you?
No, all my children are in the UK with my first wife. So they're down in Poole in Dorset. Erica, my wife, same age as me, was also married previously. They didn't have any children. It was something that she really wasn't interested in. Quite happy to still not have any, which is good for me.
I was going to ask you about schools, but yeah, I was going to, because you kind of covered it. But so, do you rent a property or?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're and is that like extortionately high compared to the UK?
Rents have absolutely tanked it over the last year, 18 months. COVID here, business went on. Very strict with your mask wearing and what you could and couldn't do. But business did continue. And because of that, people still came here. Now, what that meant was, especially now, in fact, what actually really did contribute was a lot of people living in apartments. And because people couldn't go out as much as they wanted to, suddenly there was a huge migration towards villas. So there was a shortage of stock. So what happened was a few years ago, we were living in a 3-bedroom, like a townhouse, and it was costing us 100,000 dirhams a year, which is £20,000. Within a year, the value of that rent had gone up to 150, so it had gone to 30,000 a year. And our landlord sold, so we had to move. But we've moved about 20 minutes outside of where all the action is of Dubai. We've got a 4-bed standalone villa, golf course view, very nice, for 150. But if we rented that in the community where we were previously, we'd probably be paying maybe 250 to 300, which is about 50 to 60,000 pound a year.
Just a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Mm. So is it a good place? Is it a good place for families? Cause is there like what do they call them? Compounds.
Yeah, there's communities.
Yeah.
Gated communities.
Yeah.
With security, it's ultra safe.
Yeah, and within those communities there is.
In the developed
UK,
communities,
Americans.
Yes.
And within are the schools inside those communities as well?
In a lot of the developed ones, yes. With some of the newer ones, they're just on the outskirts of the communities.
Right.
I think that's probably trying to keep the traffic at bay.
So, how does your wife find it? I don't know much about like the rules and how do I put it? It's different over there. You can tell me the rest of it. I won't make any assumptions. So, within the gated community, I'm basically talking about women, not just your wife. Is it different to outside of the gated community?
No, not at all. Only that it's how you travel from one community to another. Everything's main roads, and they're not main roads how we see it. They might be 4, 5, 6 lanes. And you go into a community, but as anyone will tell you that's been here, it's safe. Women here feel safe. They know that they can walk round at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning if they want to, if they choose to. And they're not looking over their shoulder. And if there's a strange noise, it's like, that's fine.
Yeah. So no real issues.
No. See that, you hear of things happening and things do happen, but not like what we experience in the UK.
Yeah. So is it a good place with how many expats are over there? I think I saw a figure. It's like a few 100,000, isn't it?
I think, and don't quote me, for a country, and the UAE, this is where people get sometimes a bit wrong, because they think Dubai and Abu Dhabi is a country. It's not, it's an emirate. So the UAE is the country. Let's say that there's 10 million people here. Only maybe 1.5 million are actual Emiratis.
Huh.
Everybody else is an expat.
A few 100,000 was a bit out then, wasn't it?
No, well, of the English community, there's probably around about 250,000.
Okay, that's probably what I've read.
Yeah, it may be. You've probably got 2.5 million Indians here. You've probably got maybe 1.5 million Pakistanis, and then you got Filipinos, and then it's one of the most diverse, culturally lived-in countries in the world, probably.
Yeah. So what I was getting to with that was, so away from work, for you, for a family, for anybody that's from a different part of the world, is it a good place to be? Like, are you socialising, things to do?
Absolutely. Yeah. As a family, if you were a family here with children, there's always something to do. There's always clubs going on. There is plenty to do. But most of it's inside, especially in the summer, because it's too hot to go outside.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that's that. We didn't talk about that, though. The heat might be something for people to consider if they're considering going over there, because I guess it's relentless.
Well, right now it's lovely. So we're at about 24 degrees in an evening. We're still getting to sort of 34, 35 in the daytime. But it's the summer that can really kill you. And what happens is with families, and it's just the way that it is, the dominant parent, the breadwinner, will stay here. And then, let's just say for argument's sake, mum and the 3 kids, they'll disappear and go back to the UK or to wherever for the whole of that summer period.
Yeah.
And all they leave behind is us poor construction workers
Yeah.
who are working outside in temperatures up to 50 degrees, humidity that can go up to about 80%, and a requirement to change your clothes probably 5 or 6 times a day.
Whoa. It's not bad though, is it, when you get home and you've got an air-conditioned villa overlooking a golf course and everyone's in the UK apart from you? Sounds good to
Do you know
me.
what? We live in the AC. And when we look back and the England are like, oh, it's 30 degrees and I couldn't sleep last night. It was so hot, whilst I'm watching these reports on the television with a nice 19, 20 degrees of AC blowing around the room.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Sounds good to me. So if anybody wanted to follow in your footsteps, who's over here possibly listening to this podcast, what advice would you give to them? This is why I really like your story, because it started at little, and now you're sitting there doing what you do now. So it is possible. It's just it would likely be a completely different route for somebody else, but you would end up in...
Yeah, I mean, I came here by chance.
Yeah. A lot of things end up by chance.
Yeah, I think if you were planning to come over, again, forget what you think you know about the place. They don't apply. Come out to a job rather than come out and find a job, because it will drain you financially. You might think, oh, I've got a couple of £1,000 in the bank. That'll keep me going for a long time. It doesn't. It will drain you. There are lots of expat groups on Facebook. It's British Dads Dubai, Brits in Dubai, and all this kind of stuff going on. And they actually give out some really, really good advice. And you go through them, and every day there's, oh, I'm coming over, my boyfriend's coming over, I do this. And people will direct you and signpost you all over. I think that's the best thing to do. Is
there plenty of opportunities for people? So bear in mind that there's going to be probably mostly trades listening to this.
I would say that if you're coming in as a tradesman, forget it. If you're coming over, you're coming in to go into management.
Yeah.
So you could come over as, an MEP manager, contracts manager. You might be a QS. You might be at some other commercial thing, project manager, project directors. Expats, especially Western expats, that's where they will fall in. You wouldn't get somebody on the tools.
Yeah. It just doesn't pay enough.
No, it's not that it doesn't pay enough. It's just that they know that they can get the labour cheaper.
Yeah, of course. So you mentioned Middle East tiling versus UK tiling.
If we look at what we try and aim for in the UK, and which is to follow British standards, best practices, and what we generally know, and then you look at how some things are done out here, the wrong glue, tiling with cement and slurry onto walls, using, like I said, we're still grouting out here with paint scrapers. If you show someone a wash boy and a float, They think it's a little car to sit inside and go for a spin. They wouldn't recognise it. They wouldn't know what it is. Large format tiling is growing, especially over the last, I say, 3 or 4 years. And now, the company I'm in now, actually, I'm doing more tile than I am stone. And that seems to be what people want to buy. And as an example, Sanipex, which, as you know, is an international brand, I do all their work here, and it gets shipped to the UK. So all the basins and the bowls and everything, because it's cheaper to do it here, we do it here and send it out.
Right, so you've got a site where you can manufacture, fabricate certain things as well.
Yep.
Interesting. So, what's that like? So you've got, I don't know, a factory somewhere or a...
Yeah, so our Cherwell is a factory.
Yeah.
It's a facility.
Right, okay.
So out the back, I've got a water jet. I've got a huge Italian CNC machine. And pretty much everything gets processed on there. The only thing that I don't have is a bridge, which is what I'm used to from my old company, especially for chopping up stone. But being that I'm probably 80% tile now, whereas before I was 100% stone, I'm having to learn very quickly. Different business. My last company was solely stone.
Oh, sorry.
That's
so
all
you're talking company to company. I thought you meant there'd been a change in customers' needs.
What I'm seeing is, especially on the order books and what's coming through, when you look at the BOQs and everything, and the specifications, everybody seems to want tile. I don't know why that is. I'm not at that stage where I'm working with the customer and trying to understand what it is that they want and what finish that they want. That's done by the sales team and the designers. We just get the drawings at the end and saying, bake that. But what I'm noticing is a hell of a lot more tile coming through. Sintered stones in there, porcelain.
What's sintered stone? Is that like manufactured? It's
Yeah,
not old.
It's a new hybrid.
Yeah.
It's your Neolith, your Decton, your Lapitec.
Yeah.
Ultra super strong material.
Yeah.
And
It's
again,
not,
that comes with its own parameters.
Yeah.
How you cut it, tension release, using the right blades at the right speeds, at the right rotations. There's a real chemistry behind it.
So the future for you, what? Can you see yourself in Dubai for another 10 years?
I'll be honest, last year, my wife and I, we actually looked at Canada. There's a bit of a change of scene.
Definitely
and I
a change of
think
weather.
if I hadn't been offered this job when I did, I could possibly be there now.
Doing something similar?
Yeah, I think so. There was a few companies out there that were looking for... Actually, there was one company looking for a GM to almost not change the company. They were just doing worktops. And they wanted to expand. They wanted to use marble in other areas. Now that could be facades, it could be staircases, decorative pieces, wall features. So that could have happened. But I got this opportunity. Obviously, I'm married again to Erica. She does very well. She works for Victoria's Secret.
Oh, yeah.
So
tell me about that.
So she's a senior operations manager for Victoria's Secret. She runs a lot of stores. I can't remember how many there are across 4 countries.
And they're based in
and
Dubai,
comes home with some wonderful designs.
Cool. So their office is in Dubai for that region?
Yes, but not as Victoria's Secret. So she works for a company called Al Shire. It's a Kuwaiti company, but they have offices here, and they're licensed to sell, for example, Victoria's Secret, Next, Bath and Body Works, and many of Starbucks. That's one of theirs. So every Starbucks that you see throughout the UAE is through their business. So L Brands, who own Victoria's Secret, work collaboratively with Al Shire to sell the product. Erica's basically sells bras and pants.
It might be a good podcast, actually. People might listen to that. Obviously, I'm speaking to somebody who works for Victoria's Secret.
Yeah, well, they got rid of the Victoria's Secret Angels. They've gone, so
Really?
you're going to have to show some old stuff. Yeah, they got rid of that.
So what is it now?
It's nothing.
So they have no how do they show
it's
people?
the international shift of going away from the perfect skinny size 0 model to
I agree with that.
incorporate the plus sizes now.
Yeah.
But the shows were always based on
Supermodels.
exactly
Unrealistic.
Yeah.
But they're still bras and knickers. I mean, we're not. That's the reality of it. That's what they do, innit? They sell sexy underwear. That's it. That's their company.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any shame in it. People like it.
No.
So I think they should show it off.
Yeah. There's been a shift, and you see it now, not just with them, but with all the retail.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose I do agree with it, to be honest. That unrealistic looking models, but they're still, like I say, they're still selling underwear. So
They're always busy.
We'll see what they come up with.
I mean, one of Erica's stores, so in the Dubai Mall, which is the flagship store for the region, although she doesn't actually she lives in Dubai, but she doesn't actually look after that store anymore. That's been given to somebody else. But I remember once before, there was one day, it took something like just shy of 1 million dirhams in one day, £200,000 in pants.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in it. I think we're done, mate. Is there anything you want to add? It's good to end on bras and knickers, I think.
It's a strange ending.
We started
from
at Lidl
tiles to pants.
No, we started at Lidl, so we've gone from Lidl to bras and knickers, and the podcast is aimed at tradesmen and tradeswomen, so they'll have to search around the middle for some information.
We'll get some new uniform designs based on Victoria's Secret.
Yeah. Contact Marc.
No, it's great. Look, it's a lovely life out here. It served me well as an escape. I came here for 3 months. I'm almost 10 years in. It's taught me a hell of a lot. It's taught me to respect tiling and stonemasonry on an international stage. I think sometimes if you see it, people are in a little bubble and they think that that's what it's going to be like wherever you go, and it's really not. You see how other people work. You see how other people live. I've been to Nigeria. I worked just outside Lagos, and I saw how these tilers and masons worked as well. And that's another thing. You see it on some of the tiling pages. Then you get a few guys come in, whether they're in Nigeria or Tanzania, and they're really proud and they show off their tiling. And then you get a group of people who might come on and start knocking their tiling and just kind of giving it some general laughs, but they don't actually understand what these people don't have.
Yeah. But I think I've mentioned this on every single podcast so far. That's my pet thing anyway. It's my pet hate anyway. Taking the piss is absolutely fine. I take the piss out of people every single day. People take the piss out of me every single day. But there's no malice in it. It's not mean. It's just taking do you know what I mean? It's fine. It's what we do. But online, like what you've just mentioned, you don't know that person. You don't know why that person's decided to post their work.
Yeah.
And you've shot them down immediately. And it probably put the person off from posting ever again. It's a lot of these pages aren't just UK pages either, but it happens within like UK to UK trade as well.
Yeah.
Like it's bullying basically. Like, and
No, I think if people see the other side, Adrian, one of the guys from Thailand community, Thailand community, he's planning to come out in January.
Really?
Come and see me.
Ah.
Yep.
That's
he wants to
interesting.
come and see some.
He's coming on the podcast as well, so I'll ask him about it.
No, for sure. And I invited Sam to come along as well. I want one of his stickers. So I said you can come and hand deliver it.
I've got some stickers, mate. If you need somebody to deliver some stickers, could easily come to Dubai.
There you go, 7 hours. That's all it is.
Yeah, I like the long flights. Watch a couple of films.
There
Brilliant. All expenses paid. Laughing.
There you go. Play a bit of golf.
No, I'll I can do it, but I'm not very good at it.
Well, neither am I.
That's great, mate. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
I appreciate it. It's a good insight into Dubai. If people were wondering, is there anybody else that people might know that are with you over there within the fair? Because we're talking about groups, but we're talking about various Facebook trade groups, really.
No, the only person that I know that's sometimes active in the groups is a guy called Rafiq, and he heads up Progress Profiles out here.
Oh, right, okay.
And he's kind of into a few of the groups as well, seeing what's going on.
They're Italian. Are
But
they an Italian company? Progress?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know them.
Yeah, that's it. But not really from anybody else. You know, there's a few big companies out here. We've got MAPE, BASF, the main kind of adhesive distributors here, but they also manufacture here. Everything else, there's a few Weber bags I see flying around somewhere. I even saw a bag of biogel the other day. No idea where that came from. But mostly MAPE.
Because they're manufacturing over there, it's probably...
Yeah, and it's spec
to be honest,
the region as well.
Worldwide, I know lots of people have got opinions on different brands, but worldwide, MAPE are the biggest. So it's I'm not surprised. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much.
There you go. All
Cheers,
right.
mate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
See ya.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.